Welcome to episode 10 of the Critic, the Geek, and the Girl. I'm Aaron. Deneé is here as well. Deneé, say hello.
Oh, hello.
Deneé is the girl, in case you hadn't put that together.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
The Geek is here too. He can hear everything we're saying. He can see us. He just has incompatible video drivers right now.
Guys,
So,
apparently his computer crashed. 8.1 did not go well for the upgrade.
yeah, Windows 8.1 really messed things up. So I think he's had to completely, over like the last 2 days, go back to Windows 8, and now he's trying to make sure that his
Video card and everything. Camera driver right now, I think, is what he's working on.
Yes, he's also texting me. He says, "Hiya, folks. I'll text you out of nowhere." That's what he said.
I feel so bad for Captain.
Oh,
I hear
I
you.
heard him. Cap lives.
Hello!
Hi. There's no video.
How's it going?
Good. We don't have any video yet, but we've got your audio.
I'm working on the video bit, but I got the microphone to work. So we got incremental progress, folks.
Woohoo! It's like you're bringing it to life before our very eyes.
All right. Well, it's good to. Then I don't even have to change my. I don't have to look at my phone anymore. So, Deneé, kick us off with the theme song.
Oh, gosh, okay. The Critic, he's legit the geek. His computer quit the girl. She's the critic. It's the Critic, the Geek, and the girl.
Very nice. Very nice indeed.
I just keep up with that.
Well done.
Yeah, of course. So we got some stuff on the docket, but as always, I kind of like to start with kind of like what's going on in your life, and that'll give Cap a little more time to hopefully get us his beautiful face in front of us here pretty soon. So, Deneé, we'll start with you, and I want to lead you here. Cooking. Tell me all about Adventures in Cooking with Deneé.
Well, I'm not the best cook, but I've been experimenting lately with like actually making a meal and following recipes and things. But earlier today, I put in a turkey roll-up into the toaster oven, so it's just a tortilla and cheese and a couple things of turkey, like deli meat, and then I forgot that it was in the toaster, and so all of a sudden I was like in here trying to set stuff up for the video, and I was like, I'm hungry. I never ate. So then I ran in there, and it was like a turkey pizza. I'll tweet a picture of it. I'm going to tweet a picture of it. It is impressive.
Good deal. Good deal. The good news is, though, you've made some amazing chocolate chip cookies recently. You've discovered that they're actually used for like flour and sugar and combining ingredients.
Yeah, I've been very successful. I'm apparently really good at making cookies.
Well, that's all you need. I mean, who needs turkey roll-ups when you have chocolate chip cookies?
Good point.
I should also mention, before we continue on, that this is, of course, a live show. We plan on doing this at about 3 p.m. Central every other Saturday. Today we got started a little bit late. Obviously, there's computer issues, different things like that. So apologize for that, but we'll try to get started as close to 3 p.m. every other Saturday as possible. And if you're watching live, or even if you're actually watching recorded, there's actually an event page where you watch this from that allows you to be a little more interactive. There's like a Q&A button, which if I'm not mistaken is maybe up in this corner somewhere, and you press that and you can ask us questions right here, and we'll see it kind of in our side thing here, and we'll be able to select those, and then those will be in the show. So, hey, look! It's Cap! It's like
Hello! Man,
Yay!
I should have shaved or something.
Dude, you've been like in fixed computer mode for 48 hours. No showering for you. No shaving. Just work.
I'm exaggerating slightly. I took a nap, but it wasn't a very long nap.
I can't even imagine.
It is absolutely wonderful to see you.
Yeah, I'm back. Hello everyone. Anyway, yeah, the computer thing has been insane. Windows forced me to upgrade to 8.1. My video card wasn't compatible. I couldn't do anything, and I basically had to reset back to factory. It was bad. Anyway, so, but things are working now, and it's fun discovering all the little things that I have to reinstall that I didn't remember that I had. You run into a thing and you're like, oh yeah, I need that program too. Okay.
Yeah, man, there are fewer, scarier words to put together in the English language than factory reset.
Yeah.
It's like, Oh, that's
Especially
rough
one that
stuff.
you haven't prepared for, where you haven't done a backup for a while. That's never good.
Yeah, did
Yeah.
I
you-
just tweeted you guys. I just tweeted you a picture of my roll up in case you want to see it.
Oh, you tweeted it?
I want you. I did something called a screen write on my Galaxy Note 4, aka this gigantic beast.
Oh, wow.
I
think
can
you
take.
tweeted, just so you know, I think you tweeted from the wrong account. You may want to
Oh, right. I've got
reverse and
multiple of those. I
tweet
will do
from
that.
your actual account.
Sure. Anyway, so I have this ability to write on the screen. So you take a picture, and then you write on the screen, and then you can like have this new way of setting it up. So I'll tweet again. Thank you for letting me know that, Aaron.
Yeah, no problem. So we would love to see your amazing cooking. And you know, that's kind of, you would consider that what, like a turkey roll-up factory reset, and then
That would be bad. Yeah. What about so what's your factory reset, Aaron?
man, in my house, it's a musical factory reset. All my boys have decided that they want to play in band over the course of them growing up. I've got 4 boys, and so the other day we had a French horn,
Do you
a
hear
trumpet,
that,
and a
Kat?
tuba at my house practicing at the same time, which usually isn't too bad, except, man, tubas go through walls. Like, nothing stops the sound of a tuba.
It's like drums.
For reals. Drums, yeah, drums are pretty, you know, piercing as well. So, anyways, that's been my life. I've had like a musical factory reset. Did we lose you, Cap? Are you still there?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Okay, yeah, now you're good.
I'm hearing myself in my headset like a couple seconds afterwards. We've got some kind of bizarre lag thing.
Okay, cool.
And it's not
that's wonderful.
And it's not my fault because I'm wearing headphones. There's not anything else I can do about it.
Yeah,
I've got
no,
headphones. I can try to fix it.
No. I don't think it's a sound thing. I think it's just an internet thing. I think it's just kind of a lag getting to and from.
Yeah,
well, let's get into it before we lose anybody. Let's start off with.
Are you guys hearing? Are you hearing Aaron slow down?
Huh?
No.
No, Aaron.
Okay.
You and Aaron are kind of normal. It seems like I'm the one that's lagging. I tell you what, guys. I think we'd be better off with just a couple of Coke cans with a string, really. But
That's true.
It could work. Well, let's get into the conversation that I'm most excited about of the 3. I'm actually excited about all these, but Better Call Saul. I cannot wait to talk about this with you guys. Of course, it's the prequel-ish to Breaking Bad, and we're in 3 episodes in, and Bob Odenkirk stars as, you know, Saul, and we're kind of in his life where he is obviously trying to start this law practice, and we're just learning a lot about him and kind of his world. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about it a little bit because I think 3 episodes in, we're really getting a sense of what this show might be. So, Cap, I want to start with you. What do you think about Better Call Saul?
okay, I wasn't sold on it the first 2 episodes, and I thought that the 3rd episode really kind of sucked me more into it and made me more interested in moving forward. It doesn't right off have its own identity. It feels like just let's do more Breaking Bad, but we can't use that character because spoiler alert, we killed that guy off. So let's go back in time and pick somebody else that's available. I like Bob Odenkirk. I like the kind of parallels they're doing early with how like Saul Goodman is a guy who doesn't want to get mixed up in this stuff but feels like he has to. He's got sort of desperate thing, and also he's good at it, and in that way he's actually got very much a Walter White thing going on where like both of them are just kind of good at it, but the difference is Walter has like myriad points where he can get out of it, and Bob Odenkirk's character Saul kind of gets stuck just constantly having to stay in it from like one mistake he made. The big problem I've got with it right out the front is kind of a faulty premise. I'm having a tough time with the Tuco thing. It's way too convenient, and that being kind of the catalyst that gets the whole ball rolling, I think was a giant misstep. Moving forward, no matter how good this show is, I'm going to be really surprised if they can ever get me retroactively to a point where I'm okay with that.
That really hits you hard then. You really, now, Deneé, you're not, this is what I love about our conversation here with Deneé. And Deneé, you still with us here?
Yes, however, it has been cutting in and out amazingly. You guys sound like robots. It's awesome.
Oh, good.
But I
do you
think
not
I
feel
caught
like...
some of it.
Okay, okay.
I caught some of what Captain was saying, but I'm still stuck on where you said this is somehow tied to Breaking Bad, because I am so confused.
Yes, this is what I was about to say. Deneé has no point of reference for this show whatsoever. She is coming to it completely clean as a show by itself. She doesn't have the Breaking Bad reference. She didn't even know it had anything to do with Breaking Bad. So she is coming to this about as pure as you can get, which is a reason I'm excited to hear what she has to say. So before we get into the Tuco stuff, which I want to talk about...
Captain has his hand raised. Yes, Captain Logan.
I've got a big question for Deneé right out the gate. This is really interesting because prequels are the mark of a good prequel is if you can watch it without it just being a gimmick, where it's completely informed by what came before and after it, depending on how you look at it. Deneé, I want to know if you were bored.
No, but I've only seen the first episode because I couldn't get the next two to play. So at this point, I am so not bored. I'm like, what is going on?
Okay.
Who is this guy? What is his life? What am I seeing? Man, am I hungry for a Cinnabon? You know, that kind of stuff.
Oh boy, that made me never want one of those again. What are you talking about? That made those look really gross.
Really? I was like, Cinnabon.
Cinnabons ruin people's lives. Stay away.
So, Aaron, you had a question though.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to hear from you. I think we've heard, kind of a little bit because the point that Cap was making was about a character that was in Breaking Bad that kind of felt forced into the plot. Now, if you've only seen one episode, you haven't seen necessarily that interaction yet. But I wanted to hear that from you of how watching this with, not any point of reference felt as a TV show, because I think those of us who love Breaking Bad and watch this have a completely different set of eyeballs that we're watching it with. We're watching it, comparing it to things, and trying to understand how it relates. And we know this character from the future, and so now we're trying to figure out who he is in the past and all that kind of stuff. And I just wondered, do we think, even as a group, and maybe this is the question we can answer, do we feel like this show is geared towards Breaking Bad fans, or just everybody?
I don't think, for me, I didn't feel like I was being excluded. I felt like I was being shown a character and things were being revealed to me in these really interesting series. I like the way that they're telling the story. I like their humor beat. It's very relaxed. It's a very confident show. It doesn't spoon feed a lot, And I also really like the sets. For example, the courtroom scene, there's this pile of boxes behind the security guard, and you can tell that they've been picked up and manhandled a lot. They paid attention to a lot of details, and we had a lot of different scenes in the first episode. We were outdoors, we were indoors, we were in multiple places, and at no point did I have an understanding of what kind of a person he entirely was, because you're kind of being shown he's quirky, he's either really confident, he knows what he's doing, but then the more it develops, he's like, no, he's really in bad shape. This guy might not know what he's doing unless he's swindling people. So I was very engaged the entire time, and I really liked the way that it was being filmed, just from the perspective of the cameras, and to be in black and white at the very beginning was really fun for me because colors can be distracting, and so it really took me into the emotion of the people that were on the film. I was just so curious about who they were and the standoff, and I did get hungry for Cinnabons again, as mentioned. So I don't know. I really have enjoyed the first one. I'm curious what's going to happen on the second one because the pilot ends with him being, taken into a house in a not so great situation, and so I don't know what's going to develop from that. And I guess because there is so much more to know from the Breaking Bad, I have no point of reference. I never watched any of those episodes or anything. I know the main symbols of them, the mask and rain suit. I don't know what that was.
Exactly. All right, well, let me give just a little bit of kind of my summary opinion of Better Call Saul after 3 episodes. I love it. I am totally on board. I have really enjoyed that it has that feel like you talked about, that it maintained this real dramatic feel, but kept, you know, that quirky sense of humor. And the worries I had about taking a side character and making them central have, after 3 episodes, pretty much erased in my mind. I think Bob Odenkirk can completely pull it off as a central dramatic presence, and I'm buying in hook, line, and sinker. What do you think, Cap? Any other thoughts?
Well, I've got kind of a wait-and-see attitude on it, Aaron. I'm definitely not taken in yet. Like I said, I thought that the 3rd episode gave me a much clearer sense of what the show is going to be moving forward. But man, it has prequelitis a little bit. I mean, it's really got a lot of problems that I have, at least right out the gate, with a lot of other prequel things where it's relying too much on recognition of characters. I think if I didn't know Breaking Bad, I'd like it more. And with what you mentioned, with what you were asking earlier, Aaron, about like, is this for Breaking Bad fans or is it for people that have? I can't imagine there are very many people at all that are watching the show without having seen Breaking Bad, mostly because that show was so insanely popular. And you know,
what does that say about me?
First week, it says that you were assigned it for the show. But anyway, I'm just saying that you were. But anyway, it had, like, I think the record for cable premiere, and you can't tell me that a bunch of people were like, oh, I've heard of this Breaking Bad thing, but I've not watched it yet. Let's start with Better Call Saul. No. Everybody that tuned in that week watched it because they were thirsty for more of the Breaking Bad format. I think first 2 episodes I thought were really slow, and Breaking Bad moves at a slow pace too. But I'm always engaged because of Walter White's character, and it's a character study. It's a character study here too. It's just that we're only a couple episodes in, and it's got all that baggage behind it. So this is a show that feels like it's, in a way, it's been on for a long time, because in a way it has, if that makes any sense. And so it's informed. I just think that the cinematography and the pacing is informed too much by the show that came before it. I'm kind of hoping that it kind of develops as a series its own character, and doesn't feel like it's just more Breaking Bad with a different character, because so far, third episode was better, but so far I'm just not sure that the format fits quite right with this character. I think it should be moving at a little bit of a quicker clip. It's like you want the feel of the show to reflect the main character. That we had that with Walter White. I don't know that we have that yet with Saul. I guess we'll see moving forward. And again, I thought that they got a lot closer third episode out. But anyway.
Lots of thoughts. One, you mentioned baggage, the baggage of having Breaking Bad before it. I think that's a valuable thing to talk about. I think what you're feeling as a Breaking Bad fan, and what I'm apparently not struggling with as much, is that baggage and them trying to honor it and at the same time release it. And so I wonder if it's just going to be this process of kind of fighting through for its own identity. To be honest, I like that it feels like Breaking Bad. I like that it's slow-paced. I like that it feels like it has the same dramatic feel, because it's created by the same people, and so that's kind of how they like to tell stories. And I think that's different than a lot of stuff that's on TV, and was one of the reasons I loved tuning into Breaking Bad. So I'm glad there's another show that's kind of embracing that style, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that the style came naturally out of the character study the first time out. Here, for me so far, it feels too much like, oh, we got to have more Breaking Bad, so what can we do to get back? It doesn't feel authentic like it did the first time out.
For me, I feel like in many ways Saul Goodman is like Walter White in this situation, in that we're finding somebody who is good at something he doesn't want to be good at.
Yeah.
You know? So they're kind of touching on those same notes, and I think it's working. I think, like, I'm getting a sense for this character that this is a person who, he's at his best when he is swindling people, but he doesn't want to be a swindler. He really doesn't. And I think there's something really cool and dramatic about that.
on paper, I think that's all great. I mean, thematically, I think it's working. I'm more complaining about style so far, and also some plot point choices. And like I said, the Tuco thing's not working. And even the Mike Ehrmantraut thing isn't quite working for me. Like I think it's kind of fun that that's how they meet, and I like that. And I'm not complaining that he's there already. Certainly, they had to meet somehow. But it seems too much like the first episode out is kind of like the first time that he even notices Mike. It would have felt more organic if like you got more of a sense that they had been dealing with each other for months before that. I mean, like everything just seems really convenient.
I don't know. That's tough, man. I feel like you're bringing your baggage to it. You know, like I feel like
Yeah, man. Let's talk about that. Do you need to let something go? You need to
I think like
take a deep breath.
And that's one of the reasons I'm glad to have Deneé in on this conversation, is because she has kind of those pure eyes. She doesn't have any of that baggage, to look at it. Deneé, what's like as you watched it, what was something that stood out to you? Like, do you have an example of something you liked or didn't like about kind of what they chose to do?
I really liked all of it. I think because I was really interested in who this person was, and not a lot about him was revealed at once, and I don't know if I liked that pacing. I don't know if I'm going to like the pacing going forward. Maybe there's some things that should be moved forward, but I've got questions about the guy's life and things like that. I liked everybody in it, actually, even like the two skaters, for example. I thought they were hilarious, and it's just because it's all comfortable and still. It's not forced. They're not, being goofy. It's just the way that they interacted was entertaining to me. So I think maybe because it's something that's so different, I also had no idea I don't know what kind of show I'm watching. Like, is this like you want to put it into a category, and so I'm like, okay, is this going to be just about a person? Is this like a murder mystery type show? Because I seriously had no idea what I was watching. So it was I still don't really know what's going to happen or how it relates to the other show at all, because I don't even know what the other show is about. So I'm assuming it's all character-driven, in which case I hope he stays interesting.
So let me address kind of my thoughts on bringing Tuco back, and of course, Mike in the parking garage. By the way, I think he was in the first episode, wasn't he?
I don't even know who Tuco is.
The parking garage?
No,
the parking garage.
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah, he's there right away. Yeah, so, Mike's there in like the first 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So the parking garage attendant who forces him to go back and get stickers. Do you remember that guy? Deneé?
Yes, I think so.
So he was a main character in Breaking Bad. So it's kind of interesting, that he's there, and then one of the somebody you haven't seen yet, who is a drug dealer, was also in Breaking Bad. And they've just announced recently, I think, there are rumors floating around that actually Jesse and Walt may be in season 2 of Better Call Saul, and they're both from Breaking Bad. And I'm with you, Cap, in the sense that I think they need to let go of that. Like, I think they need to find those connecting points and then find their own thing. Because in many ways, and you're probably sensitive to this as a Star Trek fan in the way you are, it feels like there's a difference between paying homage and cheap cameos. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but here's my issue, and I want to address something you said earlier, because you can't say, oh, I'm bringing baggage and I not respond to that.
Well, we could. But
we're looking at a prequel, Aaron. We're looking at a series of events that happens before a series of events we've seen already. That's got to feel natural. I've got to buy that, especially the major stuff, that I'm being sold as this is what happened before, is not informed too much by what we saw in the future, because that linearly hasn't happened yet. And that's why I say prequelitis. So really, I'm supposed to buy that just in a different city, no less, out of nowhere, he just happens to deal with Tuco early on. And the other problem is that in Breaking Bad, I never got a sense that he had ever dealt with Tuco, and there's discussion with Saul about Tuco. Seems kind of forced to me. And so I mean, like, and also, I like you're talking about getting far away from Breaking Bad. I think they're gonna marry them. I don't think this is really another series. I think that it's more Breaking Bad because of the way it opens. We start in the future. Deneé, you don't know this, but the events that open that show where you see him older working at the cinema place, that's well after the events of Breaking Bad. He's looking back on everything and missing his glory years. And what we have here is both a prequel and a sequel at the same time. They're going to try to marry these two things together, Aaron, and I'm afraid that some of those events just are going to feel way too like forced and written and not natural. And the reason I'm disappointed with that is because Breaking Bad was so good at not making things feel forced like that, not making things feel contrived. And that Tuco thing is, and it wouldn't be as big of a problem if it was, like you said, just a cameo. But it's not. It's the impetus that gets the ball rolling. That's the problem with it.
Yeah, and
it starts everything going. It's the reason Saul becomes Saul.
Yeah, and you know it's interesting. I'll buy into the Tuco thing specifically being overreaching because really it didn't have to be that way. It could have been. It could have been anybody else, a new character. It could have been anybody. It didn't have to be him.
I don't know if you had this, but I didn't have any sense. Sorry, I didn't have any sense of tension in the scene where he's trying to get out of being killed. I mean, I liked that. I liked how he gets out of it. That's very Saul. But like, there was no tension because I know Tuco. I know where this is going to go. I've been here and done this already. It's played just like the first time Tuco deals with Walter White, and it plays too long. We've been there and seen that thing in the desert. We've done this already.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that when we talked about the show beforehand, I had all these concerns, and you were really excited, and now I'm kind of on board, and you're having problems. I wonder if expectations play a little bit into this as well, because I wasn't expecting that much.
They do, but I didn't. I just kind of thought that maybe story-wise it would be a little bit dull. That was my big worry. I was just like, I don't know if there's a story here. I think there is a story here, and you're right, expectations do play in. But you got to understand that I have studied and reviewed a lot of prequels, and prequels are hard to get right, and they're making some rookie mistakes right out the gate.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair, and I appreciate you kind of expanding on that a little bit. Let's talk about the good stuff, the stuff you liked, Cap. Certainly there was some stuff, that you go, they're doing this really, really well.
Yeah, let me give you my big three. Number one, Michael McKean. Michael McKean's one of my favorite actors. Yay, he's in this. I will complain that I didn't know until the third episode that they were brothers, and that was driving me crazy. It's like, why is this guy important? Why
isn't that great? Isn't that a great reveal? I thought that was a great reveal.
I think we needed to know it earlier, but maybe you're right. I don't know. This is not a show that watches well week to week. I wish I was binging it. It's another novel on screen. I wish I could watch them all together. Then maybe you would be right. But I didn't like waiting 3 weeks to find that out. That was kind of weird. Now you're right though. It was done naturally. They would never have any reason to come out and say, "Hi, bro," wink, so the audience knows that that's who it is. So yay for Michael McKean. I really like him as being kind of like the voice of reason and the anchor for Saul, and the reason that he's trying to do good things and all of that. Odenkirk is still hilarious, and there's this really cool subtle like kind of proto Saul going on. I really like that. Just in that seems natural too, and also this notion of making it a sequel and a prequel at the same time is really exciting to me, if they can pull it off. But opening it the way they opened it, where he's watching the old tapes, he had me with that. I thought that was really super cool.
Yeah. I love the Saul being Saul moments when you start to get glimpses of him doing his thing. The boardroom scene so far is my favorite scene of the first 3 episodes. I just love him marching into that boardroom and telling them how it's going to be. I think that was episode 1. I kind of watched them close together.
It was.
So, Deneé, you probably saw that scene as well. But just those moments where he just gets to be Saul and just, you just feel like he's the snakiest guy in the room, and yet somehow he's going to get what he needs. That blows me away, that stuff. It's just such great writing, it feels like.
It is, and I think it's really cool that he does his Saul thing, and he's always so successful at that. In Breaking Bad, and then you have that very Saul thing in the boardroom, and then he goes and cashes the check, and he only makes $700, and Yeah, that's pretty great.
That's who he is right now.
And Mike with the stickers cracks me up. I think that's a great place to start him at. I think it's really funny.
So it sounds like there's plenty to like for you.
Oh, yeah,
it's just that overall you're really having trouble with the prequel foundation and kind of tying everything in.
It's built on a faulty premise, Aaron. It's not validating its own existence yet. Why do we have to go backwards? Why couldn't we go forwards and do a spin-off with some other character? Why does it have to be like it just? This was the thing I was worried about until I saw the previews, and now I'm worried about it again. Is that like, why do we have to go backwards? They're just not giving me enough of a reason yet for why we've got to tell this story over some story moving forward. If you're gonna do a prequel, you've got to make it feel really, really necessary, and I'm just not quite there yet. Hoping I will be.
Okay, so Better Call Saul, I'm in. I'm gonna keep watching. Deneé, how did you feel after one episode? You gonna watch future episodes? What do you think?
Yes, although I don't know that I see myself getting as excited about it as you guys are. I mean, there's just so much that I'm obviously missing out on, so I don't know.
Cap, what do you think? You're probably, at least watch a little bit longer. What would the show have to do that you decided to stop watching?
It would have to. Well, okay. I'll give you my hyperbolic one, but this is not actually true. But my hyperbolic one is it would have to have Walter White actually meet Saul in the past. If they do that, I'm out. They can't do that. But or at least they can't do it and it be like he would know him, and it would have to be very cameo for it to even sort of work. Whatever. No, I'm gonna keep going with it. I think it would just have to get like so ultra contrived, like super contrived, where like every other episode was people I know. That's probably what it would have to do. Right now, I'm mostly in just because of cast.
Yeah, they're doing. I think they're doing good work, and I think Vince Gilligan is too talented for it not to work. You know what I mean? Like he knows how to make television, and he makes it differently than other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why I was disturbed by the contrivances, because I thought he was above that.
Sure. No, that makes sense. It is an interesting balance, to figure out how to, please the audience that loved Breaking Bad and at the same time create something new. And you may be right. Maybe they're falling too far on the, playing to the audience kind of moments. So, we ready to move on? Any other thoughts before we head on to our second topic?
I would just say that if you're watching the event page, if you look in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, there's all these little squares. If you click on that, you can submit questions. That's where the conversations and questions are happening. So, I just found it.
And we'll go ahead and mention one. William Parcell says that he thinks this is one of the few prequels that could actually be successful. He says they're often limited because they focus on setting up the original and that they fail to tell their own story. This one actually might work. So I think it's still early. I think that's the other thing. We're still, even though we're 3 episodes in, it really is still quite a bit early on this.
I'm glad we had another episode before we had to talk about this, or I would have been a lot more negative.
Yeah, episode 3 is really good. I really enjoyed it. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to topic number 2. Recently announced that they are seriously considering doing a Zelda live-action show. I think Netflix was in talks with Nintendo or something like that to set something up. Is this a good idea? Can this work? I think I know I've played plenty of Legend of Zelda games. I know Deneé, you have as well. Cap, not. I'm sure you have. What do you guys think about this? Deneé, why don't you start this one off?
I think anytime you've got such a long series of a storyline, that whether it's in any format, so in this case we've got a game that many of us have experienced at some level or played all the games or whatever. If their storylines have been compelling enough, then I think you can maybe go into some sort of like a live action type thing. I just don't know that, like for me personally, that I ever really got sucked into Link, Zelda, Ganon stuff. Like I don't know what they would pull from there because I'm not very familiar with all the lore of that world. So, if it was going to be something like I'll pull from one of the most rich storylines that I know of, Lord of the Rings, for example. There's so much there. Like there's so many different relationships and things that you can kind of pull on and things like that. I don't know what they're going to do with this. I'm nervous about it. Like if I was to watch it, I think I'd be like, let's hope this goes well.
Sure. I have some of those same feelings. of being nervous about, what's it going to look like, what are they going to do. But actually, I think the not having a lot of that story spelled out, because it's kind of, they tell stories for each game, but they always revolve, around, Link and Ganon and whatever. I think that actually gives it an opportunity to do something interesting because there's a world to create. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true.
They have an environment, but now they have stories that they can possibly tell.
If they're interesting.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Cap?
I think it's a great idea. And I'm not a Sword and Sorcerer guy, I'm not a fantasy guy, I'm not a Zelda guy. I think this is a great idea for a couple of reasons. First of all, I trust Netflix right now. They tend to get they tend to greenlight properties and series that they're excited about, and they tend to give things to the right people. I think that the thing that sold me on the idea was that Netflix pitched it as the family-friendly Game of Thrones, and I think we need something like that. I think that's really good. I think they have a really, really involved fantasy thing that doesn't have a lot of over-the-top sex and violence, and that kids can watch. I think that's great. I think that'd be really good. You want it to be adult enough that everybody can enjoy it and you can take it seriously, and you don't want it to look like 90s Fox live-action kids show, but you don't want it to look like Goosebumps or something. But you also But I think that if you give it those kind of production values, and Netflix seems to be able to throw money at stuff, if you give it the right production values, I'm with Aaron. I think blank slate, not a blank slate, but like a foundation like that where you have a lot of lore and iconography, and you can kind of go anywhere you want to with it. You can inject whatever fascinating character stuff you want to. I think that sometimes it's more limiting to straight up adapt something that was already a really good storytelling and really, really well character driven. I think that it's much easier to just take something that's kind of like a visual canvas, but there's not a lot of meat under it yet. You create the meat. No, I think this is a great idea. I'm excited about it.
I'm super excited about it, and I tell you what, my kids would be through the roof for this show if they took it seriously and did a serious live action. My brain goes to the old animated cartoon that played with the Mario Brothers cartoon back in the day.
Yeah.
Where Link had the famous catchphrase, "Well, excuse me, princess." He was just like this little brat. But if they took it to a place where it was a legitimate character and a legitimate world, and I think they could hit it out of the park with this, because there's just such a built-in fan base. I mean, how many people of how many generations have played Zelda games? It's just, I think it could be a home run.
Well, and if it works, it's going to be really important. I think I can kind of see the strategy behind this, Aaron. This is happening, I think, for a couple reasons. One of them is there has not been very much good live-action anything based on video games. It's almost all terrible, and we haven't seen it happen really in video with like movies yet. Like really good live-action video game movies haven't really happened yet. For the most part. I think that Netflix is looking at, and whatever studio's behind this, I think they're looking at what's going on with superhero TV shows and saying, let's be the Arrow of video game shows. I think that's happening. I think the other thing that's happening is if they can get their feet wet with Zelda, Nintendo will finally maybe allow someone to do something with Mario again. Because ever since the live-action movie tanked, they've been terrified of letting anybody adapt Mario. And
rightfully so.
And I'm surprised that, but you could do a really great computer animated thing, and Nintendo's just scared to death of giving it to anybody. And so I think that, first of all, I'm really surprised that Nintendo's greenlighting something like this, because they've kept some of the stuff so close to their chest after the Mario incident. I'm calling it that. And then after but I think that maybe it's like a window to eventually finally get Mario.
What other?
The more you guys talk about it, the more I'm getting excited about it. I went and found a website, and I've been kind of like poking around, the ZeldaProject.net, and there's some really interesting shots in there. There's also like a DeviantArt page, and they have Vimeo and things like that. So I think I'll look at it a little bit more and poke around and see kind of what that world is. I mean, there are things that they can pull from. There are things that you can be curious about. So I think I'm actually switched a little bit. I don't know that I'm nervous anymore. I think after listening to you guys, I'm getting excited about it.
I mean, there's obviously things to be nervous about. For one, it could suffer from the same thing that Cap is talking about with Better Call Saul. It could suffer from those, play to the fans moments where, this character from one of the games pops out for no reason other than people will go, oh, look, it's that character from one of the games. So it could absolutely suffer from that kind of stuff. But I think if they take it seriously enough, it doesn't have to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's easier when it's a reimagining and not a prequel, even if you make it an origin thing, which I would imagine is what they'll do, because that seems to be just kind of the go-to thing, where it's like, you reimagine a world and you've got to start with how everything gets started. I don't think you always have to do that, but that doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily have prequelitis.
I am now disheartened because apparently, like, some of these posts are from 2010, so I don't know what website I've just found, but I don't think it's the one I need to be looking at. Sorry about that.
So, as they get into this, what else is I found interesting about the possibility of doing this is there really isn't much like video game canon. Like, you don't think of like Zelda, like this is the official what happened in the Zelda universe, because every video game kind of plays with it how it wants to. Whereas like with Star Wars or something like that, you think of this is what, what's canon, the thing that's accepted as, kind of the history of this universe. So they'd almost be able to set canon with this TV show in a way, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah, and again, it's going to be its own universe, and it also doesn't have the same problem as something like Game of Thrones, where you've got the diehard book fans that go, you deviated from this, and this story was better in the books, and blah 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 blah. With something like this, as long as you like all the characters and it feels like Zelda, nobody's going to care what you do. It's good.
That's true. That's really true.
Doesn't matter. Do whatever you want to with it, It's like, and it's a lot easier to reimagine something like this to say reimagine something like, Batman,
All right, this question comes from Steve, who says, Zelda is a universe that needs a big budget. I'd much prefer an Adventure Time style animated series, but live action may work. Biggest question, would you adapt game stories or tell something completely different? If the latter, it might be forced. What do you think?
I don't know enough about Zelda to know how much actual story is there. And I use story in air quotes because a lot of the time, video game stories, and I know that we're getting more sophisticated with some stuff, but like a lot of the time, video game stories, especially for something like that, like this, is just kind of an excuse to get you to going to the next place. It's all about quests. It's plot driven. It's this happens and then this happens. Not this person makes this choice and here are the consequences. So I don't care if there are good stories to adapt, and even if it's like there's cool plot stuff, and then like imagine this. Imagine if you did the Mario 64 movie, but you actually like put some character depth behind it, and had like Mario go to all the same places he goes in that game, but there's like character dimension and there's like choices that get him to those places. Then that's awesome, So like I guess it just, I don't know, if there's like if they go, okay, let's do Majora's Mask, but like have more actual character dimension behind it, then okay,
Majora's Mask is basically Edge of Tomorrow, right? I mean, that's.
I don't know. I've never played it. I just thought it was a Zelda thing I'd heard of.
Which, by the way, is a video game movie that wasn't based on a video game. I mean, Edge of Tomorrow is like playing a video game, and it's interesting in some ways that's the only way you can do a video game type movie is to have like extra lives, because that's how video games are. But I
was just sitting here thinking about like another video game type world that's very diverse and has a lot of storyline to it, because Cap, you were saying, not knowing a lot of Zelda, and I think that's sort of what I was trying to mention at the very beginning, is I don't really know a lot about the lore, but a really great example of there being a video game out there that has tons of lore to pull from is World of Warcraft, because there are so many books by Blizzard and all that stuff. So just thinking that, I thought I'd throw that out as just, I'm thinking about how Zelda is both advantaged because of not having that depth of storyline and potentially disadvantaged. So I think, but Kat, when you said, do you trust Netflix, that's something I hadn't really considered before, is it sort of depends on who's backing it and what they're capable of doing. So if they can do a great job with it and pull it to life and bring it to life in a whole new way, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for it. I want to see it. If nothing else, like I look at this and I go, yeah, I want to see this. I want to see what you do with this, and I would love to watch this show. You guys
like another Xena Warrior Princess, or let's hope it doesn't go that route. Or Hercules.
Yeah,
those are amazing shows.
like Steve said, you know, they need to be willing to embrace whatever budget it takes to do the show that they need to do, because the low budget stuff will show.
And there goes Captain.
Oh, Captain has left us. Oh wow. Well, we got through Zelda at least. Oh, right when we're getting to the comic book part.
I know.
That's always fun. Hopefully he'll be back quicker than last time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm rooting for it if nothing else. It's a show that I would want to watch. So looks like he's back. So here's the question for you guys: what other video game would you want to see done in a live action show? You mentioned World of Warcraft, Deneé. Is that the one for you, or is there something else? Doesn't have to be Nintendo, but what video game would you love to see a live action show or movie made about?
League of Legends.
Oh, interesting. That could work really well, actually.
Right? It's so fun right now. The graphics are fun. You don't know a lot about the history of the characters. It's just a fascinating game. I think that'd be really cool.
That could actually be interesting. What about you, Cap? You got one?
Well, when I think of video games that would make for good movies or shows, I think of things that don't already have like really great intricate stories, because a lot of the time the question is, what is the point of adapting it except to like get it to another audience or whatever, and a lot of the time you have to truncate stuff. So my mind goes more to stuff that that kind of makes more sense to do as a serialized narrative, and you don't have to play the game. I think, you know, we're about to get another Hitman movie. I think a regular weekly Hitman TV show makes a lot of sense. I think serialize that, you know, like explore the psychology of a guy who has to go around murdering people for money, and have like a nature versus nurture thing because he was programmed to do that, and like follow him on a regular basis instead of just having a couple-hour movie. And then like your formula is built into that. You know, every episode he goes and tries to kill someone. What happens? Yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay, let me sell mine to you. I want Atari to have a film division based on how Hasbro has with their movies. So just like Hasbro has taken, Hasbro, and taken and made these big movies out of these board games, like Atari could take a game, like you remember Combat? It came with every Atari 2600, just these little pixels shooting each other. Take that property and build a plot around it, you know? Missile Command, Asteroids, you know, whatever, you know, these properties that they may or may not own anymore, I don't actually know. That seems interesting to me, to take like something from the 8-bit era and translate it into, you know, because when I heard that they were doing board games as movies, you know, I was like, how's that going to work? And some of them have and some of them haven't, but it's an interesting concept at least.
Well, what if and you're talking like pre-8-bit even, like what if we did like just the Namco movie, and we just put Pac-Man and Galaga in a film together? Right? Yeah. No, the possibilities are endless.
The Avengers of Namco, something like that. I don't know.
I'm reading some of the comments on this.
What's that?
I'm reading some of the comments that we have on the questions of it.
Do you want me to select one?
Yeah, there's some really good comments happening there.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about this. Zelda series could be interesting. This is from William again. Considering the protagonist Link is famous for never talking, is that going to be an issue?
Probably.
Yeah, you know they won't do that.
I wouldn't think that they would make that mistake of making the main person someone who barely speaks. I mean, if he's shy, then that just means that whomever is on screen with him or adventuring with him is going to have to be very interesting.
Do you think the actor who they get to play Link will spend some time with like a vocal coach trying to get down like the little yelps and yells that he does in the video games, like yeah or whatever, you know? Do you think he'll work on those?
You think they'll go that far? That would be amazing.
I think it'd be hilarious. All right. If Zelda is successful, it will open the door to so much, and a couple people have mentioned this, maybe a good Final Fantasy series.
Yeah, Final Fantasy. That was another one that crossed my mind when we were talking about the video game stuff earlier.
And apparently there's a Space Invaders movie already.
I just saw that one come up too. That would be interesting.
Yeah, so I might actually get my wish. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you bringing that up.
The Space Invaders movie is like a bunch of tanks all in a row shooting at stuff, moving back and forth, and then one general says to the other general, why are we moving this slow? And frankly, why are these guys moving slow? And why don't we just nuke the whole thing? Like, why?
It'll be like the Battleship movie, you know? It's
where
like,
they have to make like a giant force field so that the other two sides can't see each other. Yeah, that's hilarious. I didn't see that movie, but that cracks me up.
Yeah, you talk about forced like references. Battleship movie was one of the worst at that. It was, yeah.
Yeah, but I heard that Vince liked it because he said it was really intentional and that it was so tongue in cheek about it that it was great. But I didn't see it.
I suppose if you want to watch it with those eyeballs, you can. But that is not. Those aren't the eyes that I watched it with.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, you might have to go to the orthodontist. Wow, I'm tired. Anyway, did I say that? That's pretty funny. Optometrist.
Whatever. We knew what you meant.
Okay, we are coming up on our hour, but I did want to kind of get to the last topic, especially because we haven't talked about it yet, and it's kind of been in the news here for a little bit. But Spider-Man and I should say Sony in Marvel have kind of gone through talks to allow Spider-Man back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, meaning Spidey could show up in Avengers movies, and maybe as early as Cap 3 next summer? Is that what I'm hearing? We might see some Spider-Man cameo in that. So how do we feel about that? Is this? I mean, I think I'll start this one since you guys started the others. I love this idea. I want as much communication and an intersection as serves the story. You know, if this is a great way to get another character who has backstory and that kind of stuff that we know into this universe, I'm all for it. I think it could work very, very well. What do you guys think?
Let's go to Pluto. Pluto as a planet who got booted out, and we may vote you back in someday. How would you feel about being voted back in?
What?
That's all I think. Well, like he got voted out. Like if that's what it felt like when Aaron was talking about like Spider-Man. He's like, okay, we're gonna accept you back in now, Spider-Man. You can come back over onto the side.
It was like Spider-Man was at Exile Island and Survivor.
Yeah.
It was like.
Yeah, I'm kind of bored with Spider-Man at this point, though. So.
Oh. Okay. Well, anyway, I said it's not like that. That's not even kind of an analogy that makes any kind of sense.
It does when you don't know a lot about Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. Well, lots of things make sense when you're ignorant. Okay.
I definitely am ignorant to Spider-Man. I will totally own up on that. I know zero about the history, but I am, as someone who watches movies and things like that, I am tired of Spider-Man. So I think I'll probably let you guys talk about this one because obviously I'll just relate it to Pluto. So.
But what I hear you saying before Cap goes is you've seen enough Spider-Man recently, and you're not sure that you need any more.
If they can make it interesting, and keep it go into some place that I haven't seen yet, but I've seen a lot of the stories run, and I hope they don't keep going back over the same ones over and over again. Like if they can find a different perspective or something to show me as an audience, then I think I'll stay engaged. Or if they can tell a really, a great new version that can stand the test of time, and when people think back to Spider-Man in 20 years, they think of this new development, whatever's coming down the line. I think that's more important to me than anything. But
so basically, you don't need to see Uncle Ben die again, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the spider bite again. I don't need to see that again. I've seen that now many times.
What do you think, Cap?
Well, that's all moot points, guys, because they're not doing that. I mean, they've already come out and said we're not doing Origin. Marvel had a number of stipulations for making a deal with Sony. Two of the big ones were we are not doing Origin again. He's already going to be in the suit when you first see him. They're gonna go early still. He's still going to be in high school, so he won't have been around for very long. And frankly, he can't be, or it would feel really shoehorned in, right? Because we've had the Marvel Cinematic Universe running since 2008 with Iron Man. It's like, where has he been? Why has nobody been talking about him? So we've got to see him fairly new out the gate, but they're not going to make us watch that stuff again. We've been there and done that. They didn't want Garfield again. They didn't want to try to incorporate the universe, the amazing universe. They wanted to go their own way with it, and that I think they probably just found all that stuff too convoluted, and frankly, a lot of people didn't like it. So suddenly they'd have to try to find a way to incorporate that in a way that fit their vision version, and people would suddenly be okay with movies that they found either lackluster or, with the case of 2, just really bad. A lot of people felt. I think this is best case scenario, because if we had gotten Amazing Spider-Man 3, it would have either tanked or it would have made money, but everybody would have hated it again because people just were not on board with that franchise. I liked 2 better than a lot of people did. I was excited to see what they would do in finishing all that out, because that ended on a cliffhanger, and they were building Sinister Six, and it's going to be really weird never getting a conclusion to that, because I think those movies are going to fall completely into obscurity. Like, nobody's going to remember those in 20 years because we didn't finish them up. And if Spider-Man is successful, like Deneé was saying, in Marvel Cinematic, that will become the definitive version. Spider-Man is the big Marvel tentpole character. Having Marvel without Spider-Man is like having DC without Batman. It's weird, and so it's nice that he's finally going home. I would have liked to have seen one more movie just to round out that last franchise, but that was not going to happen. So, or if it did happen, it would have been really strange because they would have had to recast because they had already kicked Garfield out. So they cleaned up a mess, and they cleaned it up fast, and I'm really surprised by how quickly they were able to come to the table and make that happen. So no, this is best case scenario.
So what does it look like then, Cap? Like, is he going to be a cameo in Cap 3 and then become a greater part of the movies, or
2017 he gets his own solo film? So yeah, they're saying, and I think this is pretty much just confirmed now, that he's going to be in Cap 3. We don't know if it's just cameo or if he's going to be involved at all. I hope that he's not a big part of that, because his big part of Civil War in the comics was unmasking, and you can't start Spider-Man where he just straight up says, "Yep, I'm Peter Parker." We did that with Iron Man, first of all, and second of all of the great character drama with Spider-Man comes from the dual identity. So you don't want to have that. No, I think it'll be an after credits thing, more than likely. But yeah, they're just going to kind of make that a placeholder and say, look, we got Spider-Man. But yeah, he's getting his own solo movie in 2017. So,
and that's confirmed? I hadn't read that. That's something that they've confirmed?
Yep. In fact, that was one of the first things that they said when they first announced it, and they actually moved a couple of dates back for movies that they had already. I can't remember which ones. I think one might have been Black Panther. I forget, but they've already moved a couple dates back for some of their other movies just to accommodate that and make it happen.
Does it blow anybody else's mind that Marvel's schedule runs out to 2020 already? Like, I'm just like, when his I mean, I get it, and it's beautiful, if you're looking forward to this stuff, and they've certainly hit it out of the park so far. That just blows my mind how far ahead they look.
That's not that far ahead, though, when you think of all that goes into making a movie.
Yeah, let me suggest that, first of all, they they're successful. Everything they put out now makes close to $1 billion. They can take those kinds of risks. Second of all, it sounds crazy when you think about it like one interconnected franchise, Aaron, and that's what it is. But if you think about it like a studio, no, that's not crazy at all. I mean, like look at any movie studio and how far out are their dates.
But here's the difference. And you kind of touched on it, which is that this is kind of like a franchise. The difference is other studios, and maybe this is changing because actually Pixar has done a little bit more of this recently as well. It's not like they say, okay, this is happening here. They just plan and they start working on stuff and they shoot for goals. And usually they're a couple years out, maybe 2 or 3 years out. Or like I think of like the Avatar movies. They've had kind of some shifting dates. They kind of knew where they were in the future, that kind of thing. And now it's solidifying as we're getting closer. But it's interesting to me that this one franchise that has like 3 or 4 movies a year, is planned out that far, because I'm just thinking, well, what if the next 6, in the next couple of years, what if something happens and the audience reacts differently, and you've already planned, a spinoff for this character, and what if people don't like it? It just seems a little more dangerous. It seems a little more risky.
Yeah. It is, and that's what I love about it, that they're willing to take those kinds of risks. Let me touch real quick on 2 things you said. First of all, there's not a single movie they've greenlit that is a spin-off or a sequel to something that they haven't already seen perform. That's the first thing. Like Guardians did huge giant numbers. Not surprised to see a sequel to that. Everything else that they've greenlit, either more Avengers stuff or singular characters that they don't know how it's going to perform yet. So there's that. Second of all, what you're seeing, and I think this is really cool because we're educating the masses about this, what you're seeing is the way that the big 2, DC and Marvel, have to plan comics. This is comic book storytelling. This is how we do it. They plan this far out. It's like when you have giant mega events and stuff like this, that's how we do it. I mean, what you're seeing is Marvel Studios run essentially like a multi-million-dollar comic book company.
Got a great comment here from Steve that I wanted to read. It says, I'm glad they didn't have Spider-Man. Marvel, early on, I assume he's talking about, Marvel films worked since they were forced to be creative and make people like Iron Man A-list characters. That they were forced to make people like Iron Man A-list characters. Now that Marvel has an identity and people know the characters, Spider-Man won't steal the show. That's a great point. That this worked out actually really nicely for them because it allowed them to show what they could do with their quote-unquote minor characters who are now major characters. And, you know, now Spider-Man comes in and he feels like part of the team. He doesn't feel like, you know, it's all about him. I think that's
that is a really good point.
The big thing... Yeah, the big thing I'm worried about, and Steve and I have talked about this, the big thing I'm worried about is Spider. They'll probably make him an Avenger, and Spider-Man's never worked well as an Avenger. I don't want to see that. I'm sure that's where they'll go with it. The big thing that some comic fans are kind of worried about is just that Spider-Man hasn't been great in a lot of years. Some people love Dan Slott, but I'm not one of them. And Spider-Man is, sadly, even though it's their tentpole character, kind of the character Marvel does not know how to handle anymore. So it'll be interesting to see if they can fix that in the movies, because comics these days, they don't know what they're doing with them.
Acquiring minds want to know. This question has been asked, and it's been plussed several times. So we'll go ahead and ask you, Cap. Why do you keep rubbing your forehead?
I'm sorry, you're cutting in and out really weird.
Oh, the question from Edward is, why does Cap keep rubbing his forehead?
Why am I rubbing I was rubbing my forehead? I don't know.
Apparently.
He's sleepy.
I didn't even realize I was doing that.
He's sleepy.
This is what
sorry, I don't
he's
have a
undergoing
more interesting answer.
reset.
Yeah, that's what it is. Exactly.
All right. Here's a question I have. Does this bode well for Does this bode well for other Marvel properties? I'm thinking specifically of X-Men. Does X-Men look to make a return to the Marvel Universe from Fox? Like, do you think that is down the line? How do you think all that'll work out? Fantastic Four, I guess, would be another one.
Yeah, Fantastic Four is a possibility, but that all depends on Josh Trank's film and how it performs. This has nothing to do with popularity of characters. This has everything to do with money and studios trying to figure out how to best capitalize on things they own already and papers they signed eons ago. The thing with Sony is they just didn't want to have to let go of Spider-Man because he's one of their big giant selling characters, but they were in trouble and they didn't want to lose the money that they could make keeping the character. But what you gotta do, and I don't know if you know how all this works with them and the arrangement they have with Marvel, but Sony gets like a lot of money from merchandising and stuff. So as long as they still own that character, it doesn't matter who's making those movies. They just need to try to keep their foothold so they can keep making money from it. I don't think they'll make as much money as they used to, but I don't know what their contract is exactly now because this is like a joint effort thing. I think you'll actually see Sony's name with Marvel's name on anything that has Spider-Man in it. Likely, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But no, it won't happen with X-Men until they screw that continuity up so bad that nobody goes and sees those movies. They're in a good place after Days of Future Past. That won't happen for at least a decade.
So you think
never.
it's more a matter of that Spider-Man was ready to collapse, and so they knew they had to do something. Otherwise, they would have just kept it for themselves.
Yeah, they were in trouble. I mean, like Marvel had everything to gain, and Sony had everything to lose on this. This was Sony coming up with some way not to lose it. But yeah, moving forward, I don't know if you know what's going on with X-Men, but I mean, like they've greenlit a Deadpool movie. They're doing more spin-offs. They've got Gambit going on. X-Men is its own shared universe. That's not going back to Marvel anytime soon. And I can't think of any reason, because again, the distinction is Spider-Man's not going back to Marvel so much as, I mean, it is as far as being in that continuity, but so much as these two companies joining forces to make more Spider-Man happen. I can't think of any reason Fox would make a similar arrangement with Marvel unless they were in trouble.
Are we headed
and that
towards
means that
the
Marvel
world?
may... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, are we headed towards a world where basically every movie that comes out over the course of the year is either a comic book property, a Oscar contender, or an animated film. Like, it just feels like those are the three types of movies that, happen. I just like it. Just feels like there's too much of that. It's going to crowd everything else out. Is that fair? I'm just trying to think. Like,
I'm not worried about that yet. I think that it's popular. Sorry, we have a weird lag.
Uh-oh. We do have a weird lag. I don't have a lag.
I guess I'll start talking until somebody else starts talking, because I don't know what's going on. But what I was going to say is, I think, Aaron, it's exactly the same thing as Westerns. As long as they're good, people keep seeing them, and when the people making them get tired of them, we'll get tired of them too. I mean, yeah, we need more variety, but like, that's not on the people that are making comic book movies and animated movies and Oscar contenders. That's on the people that aren't making anything else and making them popular the way that those things have become popular.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because Oscar contenders aren't even necessarily popular. They just, they have a different kind of money that they make by doing those kind of prestige projects.
True. Yeah.
So, so it's just kind of this interesting niche, kind of that film circuit, film festival circuit kind of film that gets picked up and makes money even though it didn't cost that much to make. So, right, Deneé?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm totally following all that stuff that you guys are talking about. Totally not thinking about cookies or anything.
No, not at all. Man, I appreciate all the interaction in the comments. I wish we could have got to more questions. Deneé, do you see any others that you want to...
Captain's kind of out, and a lot of these are really aimed towards... So the questions that are coming in are, things like basically about Spidey and all of that conversation. And I'm definitely not a professional in that realm. I don't know a lot about that stuff, so I don't know that I would feel comfortable asking a question unless Captain was here.
I'm here.
Oh, there's Captain.
He's back.
Yeah. Sorry, I dropped out real quick to see if I could help with the lag.
Yes. I'm sure we're just dealing with an internet hiccup somewhere. So, but yes, but that's pretty much it. Unless you guys had anything else that you wanted to mention, we'll kind of close up shop.
Yeah, I've said my 2 cents. Sorry.
Deneé?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little awkward because it's cutting in and out. I really don't know what's going on. So what's the question?
It's the best way to finish the show.
I can't hear anything. I feel like the old lady sitting in the corner that has hearing aids that have failed, and you're just smiling, going, "Uh-huh." I have no idea what's happening.
All right, well, we'll finish with this. Edward says that a Tetris movie is in development. That could be genius. I have no idea what it's going to be, but that could be absolute genius. I can't wait. Oscar winner for whatever year it comes out, Tetris, the movie. Thank you for tuning in to our conversation through the technical difficulties. We appreciate it. We will be back in about 2 weeks on this from now is the first Saturday in March around 3 p.m. Central. So hopefully we'll have some of the technical issues fixed then. But for the geek and the girl who is apparently dropped out and dropping back in, is the geek still here? Geek?
Yes.
Hello, Captain
Hello.
Logan?
Yes. No, I've just been relegated to the now. Okay.
I'm the critic, and we'll catch you next time.